country. In a simple language, it basically plays out a component like you've mentioned, strengthening the local currency, of course avoiding the shocks that the kwacha can actually be able to tumble with, and also it basically comes into create and hoard the hopes of the investors, meaning it creates that investors' confidence. At the same time, it is something that can be used to avoid excessive, expensive imports. Maybe just to come down now, if, for example, Zambia was to go on a civil war or any confusion of some sort because we are in a political situation, we are able to sustain ourselves with about 5 months without lashing to the international market to borrow money or to ask for any dollars. We have the dollars to buy things into this country. That's what it means. So this is just basically the savings that we have. The 6.7 billion in its only sense, it's not implying that it's just in US dollar terms. This is a combination of different currencies, such as Chinese currency also is part of it, US currency is there, and even what can be convertible be there as well. But usually, gross international reserves is calculated in US dollars because it's a foreign-based kind of, basket. And what basically plays out in this case that it has got also where it comes from. Maybe that's why we should now be able to talk. If our mine, sector, the mines are doing very well, part of what we get as the form of tax or tax receipts that we get to be paid through mineral royalty, dividends, and many others, we also get a portion to reserve somehow. And again, the international monetary policy or monetary fund, which we commonly call IMF, had helped also by releasing what we call SDR. SDR is part of what we contribute, equivalent to a position where that money comes in to help us, save, in this case. So maybe as we go later on, my interesting component also is the unfolding story is about getting the reserves to pay off the debts. So we'll be able to speak into those lines. But I'm creating that baseline to interpret what is actually happening. It's like at your household level.
Yeah.
You've got a fixed deposit or you've got savings that you have saved. Despite saving some money, you can still have the debts, which can be productive, which can turn from debts into productive assets.
So, Kelvin, for the itchy hands out there, and I'm not inciting any criminality, but where is the money? As in, how is it kept? Is it kept at the Bank of Zambia, for example? No, Bank of Zambia, don't come calling me saying I said you have the money. But, how liquid is it really moving? Is it in actual notes? Or is it in assets? I just wanted to maybe understand that.
It could be a combination. Obviously, the issue is maybe I can now give you a scenario. A scenario is if I want to participate into government securities, I'm sure you've heard of government securities. I want to buy the bonds or treasury. It's a similar way that Bank of Zambia or Zambia in its own way, it can also buy such securities at an international level. Part of it can be stored in US, part of it can be stored, in some other countries as well. And again, the whole point here is that this reserve is purely running on Bank of Zambia's balance sheet. It's not something that we can say it's linked to the Minister of Finance. Obviously, we understand Minister of Finance is a key parent for Bank of Zambia. Bank of Zambia comes to be an agent. But in the case of what basically play out with the monetary system, Bank of Zambia has got an upper hand to oversee things of this nature. And much to this also, in terms of the composition, some can even be in asset, as you have rightly said. We've heard of Bank of Zambia buying gold as part of reserves and all those things, and many others. Others can even be in other financial instruments that we cannot be able to also highlight, maybe for technical reasons as well. But overall, that's what actually basically comes out to save. It acts as a buffering aspect to serve as financial shocks or even just any economic, eventualities as well.
So we've seen the fact that it's actually historical that we've reached this milestone of $6.7 billion. Now, there is some sort of risk that comes with it, also in comparison to our history. Could these reserves even disappear quickly if mismanaged? And maybe give a simple example from elsewhere. It doesn't really have to be Zambian, but if there is an example from here, we can as well go ahead with that.
Yes. The risk factor is standing very, very high, especially at a point when we have electroeconomics. We're at a point where politicians are basically, speaking so strong about anything, and at some point they can even go into some technical discussion, which are not supposed to be, because, the economy works on feeling. It's like when I tell somebody, say, I love you, they will feel it. So that's how economics works as well. Because when you speak anything that you speak, and that's the reason why it's important when you're in the electoral period where there is active campaign messages and all that, we should be careful how we speak on economic matters. Because anything that we speak can also have an aggressive reversal effect, meaning we can basically see certain things, change from that moment. So what I'm trying to put across here is that if we are not careful with our speeches in the election time, we can have the kwacha start depreciating. We can have the investors' confidence dwindling. We can have all many of these factors, bad economic effects, start reversing. And once we get to that, what will happen in the case that for us to serve effect on maybe kwacha's performance, we will have to touch on the reserve. So meaning we start now depreciating it. So the reserve is there to maintain the condition of the economic situation to create that balance of stability. What we basically also see is that if we have a strong reserve, it means we are basically putting things light in shape. And what will happen there is that we will also reduce the imported inflation, we will reduce the competitiveness that we face in the regional market. We basically just create things in stable condition. And that's the reason why this reserve is intact in that form. And it keeps growing because just some 2-3 months ago, it was standing at 6.5. But you're talking about 7.7 and 6.7, meaning we are progressively making substantial steps, which are quite milestone achievements.
And Kelvin, you said that, in theory, these reserves could keep us okay for the first maybe 5 months if any shock happens to our economy.
Sure.
But with these reserves, are they protected by any sort of instruments, any institutions, or indeed under a new government, can we see that they can just walk in and use them at any point?
Well, they are under the custodianship of Bank of Zambia. And of course, in monetary terms or system of governance, these have got certain policy conditions that they operate. They cannot just come with an aspect of, application directly from there. There must be some protocol or even just procedure of how we should be able to go about it. But again, also, they have got a policy cover of emergence in a way. So it's something that has a number of consideration. But again, we keep developing some of the policies as well. But again, if you look at from the monetary policy point, or even just the issues of IMF point, they have got prescribed the policy guideline in which we need to operate as well. So the safeguard there, it's policy guiding, monetary policy situation and all those aspects.
you mentioned one thing that indeed we have in a way been progressing in building our reserves. We've built investor trust. We've tried to grow our currency and so forth. But we also have this political climate that we're in, which is the electoral season, should I use. So under a new administration, what kind of risk poses to the reserves? Because for the past 5 years, a certain government has been in power. In a position where a new administration comes in, what kind of shocks can we expect to see just for the new fact that it's a new face? So you want to maybe get to know the new face.
Okay, so you see, the challenge that comes with the I'm just not endorsing anyone, but speaking from the economic point of view, if you make a change in the midst of building up, it's like you are building your own house. Then along the way, your resources have actually dwindled, and then you decide to sell that house to somebody else. Maybe the person who will come will have to make some altercation of some sort, like changing things, making alternative means of rooms and all that. So this is a similar case that can also happen in the case. We are not endorsing to say there should be continuity with maybe current leadership or anything, but the bottom line here is that it requires a consistent sort of policy, levels. What we need for Zambia's case is this same template around macroeconomic environment. But even if we seem to have a cost of living, having some bit of challenging, factors here and there, we can only attend to some of those aspects once we create a predictable environment. What we have done so far is a framework which is required to be maintained at all possible cost. It becomes difficult when you make a change mid to the way. Obviously, even when you have been suffering for something, you treasure so much to a point whereby you not just let go the losses that can actually be encountered from there. So you'll be able to nurse it very well. So we need that kind of care. We need, in fact, it's even good that Bank of Zambia now has got an autonomous authority to operate, to make decisions based on their convictions. But again, also, should there be a change of government, definitely there's also a change of governor, change of key positions somehow. So the change comes with a lot of effect. Again, it's also important to look at how best can we create an environment, even if there is a change, we still maintain the same status quo. So at the momentum that we have already maintained, or rather gained, we should not be able to lose them.
Yeah.
So it's important to look from that perspective. I think it's also another aspect that we can actually be able to say that whenever we are growing the economy, we need to look at a better way of managing some of these key resources. And much to this also, I think Zambia's growth does not need to change certain things midway. If we can consistently hold on what is obtaining right now in terms of positive economic gains, I think sooner or later we should be able to see some of these good effects, casting down there on the ground level effect. And
I'm glad you've gone to that ground effect, because I think that's a reality for many, because we hear these big numbers, but a lot of people are still saying, why don't I feel the effects of it? So what should voters listen out for then? When it comes from these candidates, and I'll put them as rather as a blanket, just say candidates, if they want their reserves protected and eventually feel these effects of the economy is doing well.
Okay, see, I don't know if you can give me the liberty to mention this. Most of us Zambians, we want to look at something that is coming today. We want to eat today. We don't want to look at the future. We don't want to build a scenario of a successful passage. What is basically holding up or making up the whole case is that Zambia has been put now into some better stabilization platform, which in any case, we are almost now proceeding to recovery process, which will stand at full scale as we get there. Maybe just to also highlight one thing. The current scenario is that mining has been a best performing or contributor to what is happening in the economy. Like we are speaking today, statistical office mentioned of inflation coming down by even a small gradual number. We are also talking of mining sector to be, giving that substantial effect, forestry, agriculture, and many others, reaching now second quarter with the 7.7 growth rate in this quarter. And of course, a pack of different combinations have also played out from there, including even the performance of the kwacha. So now, what I'm trying to put across here is that there is a need for us to look at the good story that leaders are speaking of. We should pay attention to the policy pronunciation that they want to implement. We do not need leaders who can just criticize every good things. We need leaders that can speak to say, if I come into power, I'll do a BCD. I'll help to uplift this. I know maybe the mining sector is not doing value addition. We want to start doing value addition in the local market, and that will be the most, drive we want to push with a policy instrument and all those aspects. So we need the leaders that can actually be speaking of solution-based factors, so that we can change the narrative for Zambia. Zambia, for a long time, it has been exporting low export commodity, which is not supposed to be a case. And if you look at the case of an employment situation, because we are now employing technology in our mining, we are doing low value in terms of export and all those factors. That is why if you see the mining sector performing at peak and having huge volume of activities, it's not translating directly there because we are lacking local processing, and that should be able to be a case. So in short, we should first watch how they are speaking, what are they promising, and are they also capable of performing what they are speaking?
Yeah.
Yes.
So while you say in short, I want a direct yes or no. Can government promise free services but also protect its reserves?
Yes, it can. I don't know if you want me to explain now a bit. The explanation can come in to say, if we have a combination of productive activities, of course, even now looking at where we're shifting, we do not need to go on higher drive or bandwagon of contracting external debts. If we contain local market needs, and also if we can contain austerity measures around government expenditure columns, I think that can actually be able to work out. Much more, we have seen the case. There is free education. There is at least 85% medicine in some of the hospitals that we are able to see. I'm not speaking because I want to speak this, but economically, certain things have actually been uplifted. And that's the more reason why we need even someone who will come after August 13 to continue doing what has been established. I think that baseline is good. And if we can also continue looking at ways and means of expanding energy, as well as the agriculture diversification process in terms of even going to value addition, I think that could actually be able to put Zambia in the right spot.
I love that. I love that indeed. If you just tuned in, from wherever you tuned in from, this is obviously Sky FM, the People's Radio. You don't need to tap that down, whether it's in Lusaka on 88.5, in Livingston 87.7, Choma it's 88.7, but indeed Zimba on 88.3, 89.7 in Monze, and Copperbelt at large 106.1. We are in studio chatting about some economic aspects of our country, about the 6.7 billion in reserves. Kelvin Chisanga joins us as an economic analyst, and the biggest question we're asking is, who will protect Zambia's 6.7 billion in reserves? And is that national security or money beyond the reach of the ordinary Zambians? We're going to go a bit further in conversation with Kelvin, maybe about 10 or so minutes, then I'll open the lines to you with any questions that you may have. But Kelvin, let's get back to perhaps the citizen's point of view, because the goal is to bridge macro numbers and into household realities, as you've said. But government is celebrating the 6.7 billion US dollars. And in the same breath, a family celebrates cheaper meal. Which celebration actually matters more?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
If you ask me, economically or from expert perspectives, I would say both celebrations are quite fundamental and very critical to to point. Obviously, when government is celebrating the positive macroeconomic gains, and again, the household realities are also speaking of reduction in the way that we are seeing inflation, getting down. I think it's important to say, because you see, it's like simultaneously we are having this positive effect, which is going to make the whole case beautiful. You see, the strong harvest production that Zambia has cultivated this particular year, the highest, combined with the aspect to do with the highest reserve, I think this makes a positive combination of what we are able to see. Because you see, inflation, of course, considering the price output effect, if you look at the key commodities, mini meal, and a few other stuff on the table, they are speaking of